I'm joined by session guitarist Tommy Webb, who's a fantastic guitarist, does a lot of work here at Marshall for Marshall Records, as well as with other artists, and enjoys teaching when he's also not playing and recording. And it was great to hear today that you're a fan of Rock School and the grades. Got a few grades yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, grade 6 and 8.
That's it.
Only needed 2. That's how good Tommy is. And we've been finding different tones today. We've been looking at a whole spectrum of music and how to achieve those tones. We've arrived at grunge. So we're thinking about kind of 90s grunge, bands like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and of course Nirvana, probably one of the most famous grunge bands. If you did take Rock School grades, you would have probably played Smells Like Teen Spirit at some point, and you can't really be a rock fan without have at least heard Smells Like Teen Spirit at some point. And even if you've only had a go at sort of occasionally playing a guitar, it's one of those ones that you kind of learn the riffs.
Yeah.
So it's a classic. So we've been exploring that type of sound, how to achieve it, and then having a bit of a jam inspired by those tones. So how did we set up for a sort of 90s grunge sound on our amp?
Yeah, so with the 90s kind of grunge sound, it's often two extremes, I think. You've got clean, and for the choruses, a lot of overdrive. Yeah. So what we did with this, we set the amp up to be clean. Mm-hmm. So using that, we rolled back any preamp gain and kept it quite clean. So if you were using an amp at home that didn't have or had 2 channels, you'd be on the clean channel. And we kept the EQ pretty standard in the middle, not really fluctuating from any, so bass, mids, treble in the middle. And that gave us a really basic standard clean sound to which we added some effects.
So we've got a neutral amp sound that's on the clean side, and then we've complemented that with some effects to get that kind of 90s grunge sound. So what effect did we go for?
So we chose a phaser, but there's no rules. You can kind of add whatever you want, chorus, flange, phaser, anything that's going to warp the sound really. So just an effect you'll hear in songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit. When it really breaks down for the verse, you have that warped guitar signal. We just used one of those for the verses, and then to add some distortion, we used our distortion pedal. We had a blues breaker here today, turning the gain up quite loud. And again, if it's not matching your amp, rolling the volume back to get that match. And using those two together is also something to try out, get some different sounds going. This for our choruses, just to add some weight that we weren't getting from the amp.
And I think those are 2 sort of fairly popular pedals that once you've been playing the guitar for a while, you've probably got at home. Some of you may have sort of a multi-effects unit that does different things. So those are the sort of effects that you want to select. With the phaser, and it goes the same with chorus and with flange, you've usually got a speed or a rate control. So how did we sort of adjust the speed to, which is kind of the pulse rate of that, as you say, that sort of warping sound, to get that Smells Like Teen Spirit sort of sound? Where did we kind of put the speed?
We tested it out maxed out, which we found too fast, and then all the way off too slow. So we were kind of around the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock mark. And for our tempo, that kind of matched the beat. It can sound a bit too crazy, a bit too just affected on max, and a bit comedic, I find sometimes. So rolling it back to kind of match your pulse of the song, you'll be able to hear where it's sitting right, and that's just trial and error, I think. Just turning the knobs and seeing what sounds right to you. And
I think it's being having the courage to do that, not being afraid to experiment with the sound. If you've got an actual guitar pedal, then that's great because you've got controls that you can turn. If you're using more of an effects unit, then you need to dive into some of the menus and the presets in order to play with that kind of rate or pulse in order to get the sound. The other element that's essential to tone is guitar. So should we just have a quick chat about how you set up the guitar? So for our grunge sound, again, we went with the Les Paul, but there are a number of options.
I'd say this is the style of music we've looked at today where there are no bad guitars for it. You can pretty much play whatever you want. We had the Les Paul just because it was to hand really, but Jaguars, Jazz Masters, they're very common, the Fender kind of guitars. Slightly lower output of the pickups, so we might have to accommodate for that on the amp by potentially turning the gain down for a humbucker or turning it up for a single coil. But yeah, we left this on the bridge pickup to give us that real clarity in the verses with the effects. They can get they can sound a bit too nice for the style of music, so a bit too professional sounding, like those 80s choruses. That's not what we're going for. We want some kind of really trebly affected tones. Then with the choruses, when we added the gain, by having it already on the bridge pickup, it just cuts through that bit clearer. The amount of gain we added, if we were on the neck pickup, would sound too muddy. There'd be no clarity. It would just be like a wall of sound. So yeah, leaving it on the bridge pickup, and I'd say the same for a Strat or a Tele. Anything you're using, bridge pickup, maybe the middle, or on a Strat, one up, but not really on the neck for this style, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And as you said right at the beginning, the grunge era is the chance to kind of play with different tones throughout the course of a song. Yeah. So we might have our cleaner sound with maybe some chorus or phaser on it, and then we're either kicking in an overdrive pedal or swapping channels on an amp, if you've got a multi-channel amp, to give us that heavier sound often used in the chorus.
Definitely.
So lots of fun there. We're going to hear a little bit of that phaser and that distorted sound solo from Tommy, and then we're going to have a bit of a 90s grunge jam to finish off the video.